At the beginning of the story, we see Sam who leaves his house. His home is near the sea. He boards his small boat, crosses the cliffs, and reaches the deep sea. Actually, he has come here for fishing, but just moments later, deep darkness spreads all around. Sam can no longer see anything ahead, and at that very moment, his boat hits something. He sees that in front of him is a sailboat. It was this sailboat that his boat had collided with. The name of this sailboat is Volta. Sam doesn't see anyone on the sailboat. He calls out, but no one comes out. So Sam ties his boat to the sailboat and goes inside. There he finds a book and a lot of belongings that surely belong to someone. But there is no human inside the sailboat. He tries to contact others using the sailboat's radio, but he fails to establish a connection. Sam can't understand where the people who were on the sailboat have gone. How could someone abandon such an expensive sailboat in the middle of the sea? He starts moving around the sailboat, and at that moment, he notices that his small boat, which he had securely tied to the sailboat, is no longer there. It has disappeared. At the same time, due to the deep darkness, he can't see anything clearly. He scans the surroundings with his binoculars but finds no trace of his boat. And just then, he hears a sound coming from below the sailboat, which terrifies him because just a short while ago, he had checked below and found no one there. Sam goes downstairs again. He notices that the boat's movement is causing the bathroom door to swing open and shut on its own. He closes the bathroom door and heads toward the engine. He realizes that now, apart from this sailboat, there is no other way to escape. He tries to start the engine, but it won't turn on. Additionally, the boat's compass is broken, so he has no sense of direction. He pulls out a map and determines the correct direction based on his location. After that, he also unfurls the sails, hoping the wind will push the boat forward. But the wind is so erratic that the boat starts spinning in circles. Sam realizes that he must start the engine at any cost. After working on it for several hours, he finally manages to start the sailboat's engine, and now the boat begins to move forward. He scans the horizon with his binoculars, but there's no one in sight, not even his own boat. He tries contacting others via the radio once again, but fails to reach anyone. Now he needs to urinate, so he steps out onto the deck. Just as he's relieving himself, a sudden wave hits the boat, jolting him violently. He nearly falls overboard but manages to grab the railing at the last moment. If he had fallen, he would have been lost at sea, facing certain death. So he decides it's safer to go downstairs and use the bathroom. He heads into the toilet to urinate, and just then, the door automatically locks behind him. He tries desperately to unlock it, but the lock won't budge. After struggling for a long time, he finally manages to unlock it, yet the door remains stuck. Now he's trapped inside the toilet of a sailboat in the middle of the ocean, with no way out. At that very moment, he hears a voice from outside. It turns out to be the sound of the radio. His radio has finally established a connection, but he can't respond because he's still trapped in the toilet. He struggles desperately, but the door still won't open. Just then, he hears the sound of an engine. Peering out through the toilet window, he sees a massive cargo ship right in front of him. He takes off his shirt and tries waving it to signal for help, but it's useless. There's no one on the deck to notice his sailboat. The sailboat keeps drifting straight toward the cargo ship, and it's about to collide with it any second. Sam panics. Then he spots a rope. He throws one end of the rope down toward the sailboat's propeller, hoping it will get tangled in the fan blades and stop the engine. And that's exactly what happens. The rope wraps around the propeller blades, but the other end of the rope, still in Sam's hand, suddenly loops around his neck. The rope tightens, choking him, and he barely manages to free himself before passing out from the pressure. At the same time, the sailboat collides with the cargo ship, causing water to slowly start flooding in. When Sam finally regains consciousness, he looks around, but the cargo ship is nowhere in sight. It must have sailed far away by now. At that moment, he hears footsteps outside, which shocks him because the sailboat isn't that big, and he had already checked the entire boat. There was no one else on board. Sam thinks it must be his imagination. Sam's biggest problem now is that the sailboat is still moving forward at high speed. Even though he had stopped the engine with the rope, the sail remains open, so the wind keeps pushing the boat rapidly. He desperately wants to stop the boat, so he grabs a pole and pulls down the sail's rope, bringing the sail down and halting the boat. But suddenly the rope snaps on its own, and once again, the sailboat starts moving forward with the force of the wind. Sam is completely devastated as all his efforts have failed. Now water begins filling the toilet compartment. When he tastes the water, he realizes it's not seawater. It's fresh. Sam screams out, "I know someone's out there. I don't need your help. I can get out of here on my own." Sam is now convinced that whoever is outside must think he's a thief, which is why they've locked him in here. Strangely, the water inside the toilet begins draining on its own. Several hours pass. Sam grows thirsty, and once again, water rises, but this time when he tastes it, it's not fresh but salty. This means seawater is now leaking into the sailboat from the damage caused by the collision with the cargo ship. Slowly but surely, the water level inside begins to rise. At that moment, he looks out the window. A massive storm looms ahead, and the sailboat is steadily heading straight toward it. He tries to cut the sail ropes by attaching a blade to a pole, but his efforts are in vain. He fails to sever the ropes and ends up injuring his hand. Now his sailboat is caught in the storm. The entire night passes like this. The next morning, when he opens his eyes, he sees the toilet compartment nearly filled with water, and the level keeps rising. If he doesn't escape soon, he will drown. Summoning all his strength, Sam begins kicking the door violently, and this time it finally bursts open. He rushes up to the deck. Knowing the sailboat will soon sink, he quickly assembles a makeshift raft, throws it into the sea, and jumps onto it. But after waiting for a long time, the sailboat still doesn't sink. Determined, he decides to climb back aboard and attempt to restart the engine to escape. First, he climbs back onto the sailboat and repairs all the damaged sections where water was leaking in. Then, using a motor, he begins pumping out the water that had flooded the boat. At the same time, he fixes the sail. After that, he tries contacting others via the radio again, but fails to establish a connection. He knows he must reach the shore in this sailboat at any cost. Otherwise, he'll die of hunger and thirst here. Just then, he spots a cargo ship not too far away in the distance. He starts paddling the raft he had built toward the cargo ship. Sam is overjoyed. If he can just reach that ship, he'll be saved. But at that very moment, the sailboat suddenly starts on its own and begins moving toward Sam. Seeing the sailboat charging toward him, Sam has no choice but to jump off the raft to save himself. The sailboat smashes into the raft, splitting it in two. Now Sam is completely terrified. He doesn't want to go back on the sailboat because he's realized this is no ordinary vessel. It's something mysterious, something beyond his understanding. The sails are fully raised. The engine isn't running. Yet the boat moved toward him on its own. Now it has stopped right beside him, as if silently demanding that he climb aboard again. He doesn't want to go back down there, but just then, he feels something massive moving in the water around him. At first he thinks it's a shark, but luckily, it turns out to be a dolphin, harmless to humans. The water is freezing now and Sam is shivering violently. Then the sailboat drifts even closer, almost as if it's whispering to him, "Come back aboard." Left with no choice, Sam is forced to climb back onto the sailboat because if he stays in the water all night, he will surely die. Sam goes inside the boat and falls asleep. The next morning, when he wakes up, he finds that the boat's door has automatically locked, meaning he can't get out. At the same time, he notices a small hatch above the toilet. He opens it and sees that there's a way to climb up through it. Now he tries to go up through the opening, where he also finds a knife. There's some food stored there as well. Sam realizes someone must have been hiding here. Just as he attempts to climb up, the small hatch suddenly closes on its own, trapping him once again in this cramped space. Meanwhile, the sailboat is moving at high speed. Sam starts screaming desperately, "Let me go! Just let me leave. What have I ever done to you?" And instantly, as if responding, the sailboat comes to a sudden stop. All the doors unlock themselves. Sam steps out of the sailboat and finds himself near a deserted town on an island. No one lives here. Only empty buildings stand in silence. Just then, he hears the engine roar to life again. He turns to see the sailboat starting up on its own and moving away from the shore. He realizes now this was no ordinary boat. It was something intelligent, perhaps even supernatural, that had trapped him. So what do you think? Let us know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching.